Stop everything. What I'm about to tell you will either change your life forever, or you'll dismiss it as impossible. A man with nothing but debt discovered this one truth, and exactly 30 days later, he received a call that made him a millionaire. No hustle, no grind, just one shift in consciousness. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to do the same, and I'll give you the exact technique he used. You will be a millionaire in 1 month. Not because of effort, not because of hustle, not because of anything the world teaches, but because you will awaken to the truth. Imagination creates reality. The moment you accept this as fact, not as theory, your life begins to unfold in accordance with your assumptions. The riches you desire, the lifestyle you long for, the security you dream of, they are not out there. They are within you, awaiting your command. But here's where 99% of people fail, and why you won't if you keep watching. In exactly 1 month, if you dare to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you will watch the outer world bend to your inner world. Do not ask how, that is the fatal error. To ask how is to admit you do not yet believe. The how belongs to God, to the deeper dimension of yourself. Your task is not to figure out the bridge of incidents that will lead to your millions. Your task is to accept the end. Live in the end. Feel the reality of already having what you want. For that which you accept as true of yourself, though denied by the senses, if persisted in, will harden into fact. This is not philosophy, this is law. As immutable as gravity, as certain as the sunrise. Listen closely. This next part separates the rich from the poor forever. So do not look to the newspapers, the bank account, or outer circumstances. These are shadows of previous assumptions, echoes of the old you, not the new you. The new you is a millionaire now. You must walk as though you already possess what the world says is still to come. You must dine with the wealthy in your imagination, walk through your mansion in consciousness, see the figures in your bank account as done, final, unquestioned. I am not speaking poetically, I am speaking literally. Everything in this world is a manifestation of imagination. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the voice you hear, all came forth from an inner act. Someone imagined it, dared to believe in the invisible, and the visible world conformed. A billionaire once told me this secret, and now I'm sharing it with you. The wealthy know something the poor do not. They know that money is not earned. It is assumed. They know that wealth is not acquired. It is embodied. They know that riches are not obtained through struggle. They are claimed through state. This is why some people work their entire lives and remain poor, while others seem to attract wealth effortlessly. It is not about intelligence, education, or even opportunity. It is about the state from which they operate. Here's the story that proves this isn't just theory, this actually happened. Consider the man who was down to his last dollar. No hope, no job, no prospects. His electricity was about to be shut off. His rent was 3 months behind. Everyone had given up on him, including himself. But he heard these truths and made a decision that would change everything. He began to live as though he were already wealthy, not pretending, actually living from that state. He imagined himself writing checks freely, gifting his family generously, waking up in abundance. Every morning he would lie in bed and feel the sensation of silk sheets instead of his worn cotton ones. He would imagine the weight of his platinum watch, the sound of his luxury car starting, the respect in people's voices when they spoke to him. What happened next will shock you. He did this so often and with such faith that he could feel the weight of money in his hands, even when his pockets were empty. Then one morning, exactly 28 days later, he received a phone call that changed everything. A forgotten investment from years before had matured. A small stock purchase he'd made and completely forgotten about had split multiple times. He was now worth over $2 million. He did nothing in the outer world to make it happen. He simply accepted it as real in his imagination first. But here's what's even more remarkable. This was not a coincidence. This is how the law works for everyone who dares to apply it. But here's the secret most millionaires will never tell you. The law does not care whether the assumption is true or false in the current moment. It simply reflects what is impressed upon it with feeling and persistence. You are the operant power. You choose what to believe. And if you believe, truly believe, not just hope, that you are already wealthy, that the money is already yours, that every need is met, then reality will reorganize itself to reflect that inner conviction. It must. It has no choice. The world is a mirror that never lies. It reflects what you are, not what you want. So be the thing you seek, and the thing will come running to you with the speed of your conviction. This is where most people sabotage themselves. Don't make this mistake. This is not positive thinking. Positive thinking is trying to paint over doubt with pretty words. This is not about feeling good when you have no reason to feel good. This is about entering a state of consciousness that matches the result you desire and remaining there regardless of outer circumstances. If you can enter and remain in that state, the state of already being wealthy, you will manifest the conditions, people, opportunities, and events that match it. The universe has no choice but to conform to your assumption, but you must be willing to feel wealthy when your bank account says otherwise. You must be willing to think like a millionaire when the bills are piling up. You must be willing to act from abundance when the world shows you lack. Here's exactly how millionaires think differently. How would a millionaire walk? They would walk with certainty, with quiet confidence, not arrogance, confidence. There's a difference. Arrogance compensates for insecurity. Confidence simply knows. How would they speak? They would speak with authority, not because they need to prove anything, but because they know who they are. Their words would carry weight because they are spoken from a state of having, not wanting. How would they think? They would no longer worry about bills because bills are not a concern for someone with unlimited resources. They would no longer shrink from generosity because giving is natural when you know there's always more where that came from. They would feel quiet confidence, divine satisfaction, steady knowing. That feeling is the secret. I'm about to share the exact technique that changes everything. All transformation begins with assumption. The assumption of the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the creative act. It is the only creative act. Everything else is just the working out of that assumption in the world of effects. This work is done in silence, in stillness, within. You may do it lying on your bed, riding the bus, waiting in line. No one needs to know. In fact, it's better if they don't. This is sacred work, intimate work between you and the infinite. To be a millionaire in 1 month, you must think from the end, not to the end. This distinction is crucial. Do not think of money, think from money. Do not imagine getting rich. Imagine already being rich. Here's the visualization technique that never fails. See yourself walking into your bank, not to deposit a paycheck, but to speak with your private wealth manager about where to invest your millions. Feel the deference in the banker's voice. Notice how differently people treat you when they know you have money. Hear the conversations people would have with you. How did you become so successful? What's your secret? Will you invest in my business? Feel the weight of these requests, the responsibility that comes with wealth. See the letters you would write, not bills you're paying, but checks you're writing to causes you care about. Feel the joy of having more than enough, not just for yourself, but for everyone you love. Use all your senses. What does wealth smell like? The leather in your new car, the expensive cologne you can now afford, the fresh flowers in your mansion. What does it sound like? The quiet hum of your luxury vehicle, the applause at the charity gala where you're the keynote speaker. A woman followed this exact process, and here's what happened. She once attended one of my talks. She was a single mother, working 3 jobs, barely making ends meet. She had $47 in her bank account, and her car had just broken down. By every external measure, she was the last person you'd expect to become wealthy. But she understood these principles. She began to live in the assumption that she was already financially free. Every night before sleep, she would imagine herself in a beautiful home, debt-free, able to spend quality time with her children without worrying about money. She would feel the satisfaction of writing the final payment on her mortgage, the joy of taking her kids on vacation, the peace of knowing she never had to worry about money again. She did this consistently for 23 days. What happened next proves this law works for anyone. On day 24, she felt inspired to buy a lottery ticket. Now, she had never bought a lottery ticket in her life. She'd always said it was a waste of money, but the inspiration was so strong, so clear, that she couldn't ignore it. She didn't pick the numbers logically. She simply felt inspired by certain numbers and chose those. When she scratched the ticket, she found herself suddenly in possession of $750,000, not millions, but more than enough to change her life completely. She was not surprised. She had already received it within. The ticket was merely the bridge of incidents that the universe used to deliver what she had already claimed in consciousness. And she knew that if she could do it once, she could do it again and again. But here's what you must never do if you want this to work. The key is feeling, not just mental imagery. Without feeling, imagination is sterile, powerless, nothing more than daydreaming. But with feeling, with a feeling of reality, with a feeling of possession, imagination becomes the creative power of the universe itself. So do not imagine mechanically. Do not repeat empty affirmations like a parrot. Do not visualize while thinking about your problems or doubting whether it will work. Feel your way into the scene. Dwell in it, savor it. Let it saturate your being. Let the imagined scene be more real than what your eyes see. What your eyes see is temporary. It's just the shadow of past assumptions playing out. But what you imagine with feeling is eternal and creative. It is the cause that will soon become the new effect. There is one mistake keeps people broke their entire lives. Most people imagine what they want, then immediately look around to see if it's manifesting yet. This is fatal. This is doubt masquerading as checking progress. Every time you check, you're operating from the assumption that it hasn't happened yet. Instead, you must imagine, then rest in the satisfaction of knowing it is done. Feel the completion. Feel the fulfillment. Feel the certainty that comes from knowing something is already accomplished. In the next 30 days, if you do this one thing consistently, you will be a millionaire. In 1 month, if you will live in the end, assume the reality of wealth and remain faithful to that assumption, regardless of what your senses report, the millions will come. Whether through sudden opportunity, an unexpected gift, a forgotten investment, a new business venture, or a miracle beyond human reason, it does not matter. The method is not your concern. The assumption is your power. Hold to it. Refuse to waver, no matter what the world says. The world will test your faith. It will show you the opposite of what you want. It will whisper that you're deluding yourself. This is normal. This is expected. The old assumptions are dying hard, but persist. Persist with the stubbornness of someone who knows a secret the world doesn't understand. Here's what most people don't understand about money and consciousness. You are not waiting on money. Money is waiting on you. It is waiting on your consciousness to match its frequency. It is waiting on your self-concept to rise to the level of wealth. It is waiting on your assumption to become so stable that the universe has no choice but to conform to it. Money is not hiding from you. Opportunities are not avoiding you. Success is not playing hard to get. You are simply not yet vibrating at the frequency that attracts these things naturally and effortlessly. But the moment you change your assumption, the moment you begin to operate from the state of already being wealthy, everything changes. You become a magnet for wealth because you are wealth in consciousness. Here's the daily practice that guarantees results. Become now the person who has it. Not tomorrow, not when you see evidence, but now. Think as they think, feel as they feel, live as they live, do it boldly, do it faithfully, do it joyfully. Every morning when you wake, before you check your phone, before you think about your problems, spend the first few minutes of your day assuming you are already wealthy. Feel the satisfaction, feel the security, feel the freedom. Every night before you sleep, review your day as though you lived it as a millionaire. If you acted from lack during the day, revise it in your imagination. See yourself acting from abundance instead. This is not dishonesty. This is creation. It is the inner conversation that creates millionaires. You cannot speak lack and live abundance. You cannot grumble about bills and expect financial freedom. You cannot complain about your job and attract better opportunities. The law is not mocked. It gives you exactly what you continually affirm within. Train your inner conversation to reflect your desired outcome. Speak within as though you are already rich. I always have more than enough. Money flows to me from multiple sources. Everything I touch prospers and multiplies. I am blessed with abundant wealth. Do not say these things like mantras, without meaning. Say them with conviction, with feeling, until they move you, until they feel like the only truth you know. You do not manifest what you occasionally feel. You manifest what you consistently assume. The next technique dissolves doubt instantly and permanently. When doubt creeps in, and it will, do not wrestle with it. Do not argue with it. Do not try to convince it otherwise. Simply return to the state. Let the scene of fulfilled desire play again. Let the feeling of the fulfilled state return. You do not destroy doubt by fighting it. You dissolve it by starving it of attention. You starve it by feasting on the assumption of the wish fulfilled. Every moment you spend in the state of wealth is a moment doubt cannot exist. Doubt and faith cannot occupy the same space. Choose which one you will feed with your attention. Whatever you feed grows stronger. Whatever you starve grows weaker until it disappears entirely. Why some people get rich quickly while others struggle forever. All power is in the present assumption, not tomorrow's hope, not next week's plan, not next year's goal, but this moment's assumption. This is your power. This is your moment. In this very moment, you may assume that you are the millionaire you desire to be. If you remain faithful to that assumption, if you refuse to be moved by contrary evidence, if you persist despite the laughter of friends and the doubt of family, the world must show it to you. It must, for imagination creates reality, and imagination is always now. The rich understand this intuitively. They assume they deserve wealth. They assume opportunities will come to them. They assume they will succeed, and so they do. The poor assume the opposite and wonder why their assumption proves itself true as well. Now I give you the scientific proof that this actually works. Modern quantum physics has confirmed what the mystics have always known. Consciousness creates reality, not the other way around. The observer effect shows us that the act of observation changes what is observed. Your assumption is your observation of reality. When you assume you are wealthy, you are observing yourself from the state of wealth. This observation, held consistently, with feeling, must manifest as the experience of wealth in your outer world. It is not magic, it is law. The universe is not solid matter moving through empty space. It is consciousness appearing as matter, energy, space, and time. Change the consciousness, and you change the appearance. This is not theory, this is demonstrable fact. Neuroscience has shown that your brain cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you imagine yourself as wealthy, with enough detail and feeling, your brain creates the same neural pathways as if you were actually wealthy. These neural pathways then influence your behavior, your decisions, your posture, your speech. Everything about you begins to align with wealth consciousness. You start to notice opportunities you missed before. You start to take actions you wouldn't have taken before. But this is just the beginning. The real magic happens when your assumption becomes so natural, so automatic, that you forget you're assuming it. When being wealthy feels more natural than being poor, the transformation is complete. There's a mistake that keeps 90% of people stuck in poverty. Most people imagine wealth as something separate from themselves, something they might get, something they might become, something that might happen to them. This is the fundamental error that keeps them bound to limitation. Wealth is not something you get, it is something you are. It is not something external that comes to you. It is something internal that expresses through you. The moment you realize you are not trying to become wealthy, but simply recognizing that you already are wealthy in consciousness, everything changes. You stop chasing money and start attracting it. You stop working for wealth and start allowing it. You stop trying to force doors open and start finding them already unlocked. Here's how to know when your assumption is working. You will notice subtle changes at first. People will treat you differently, though they won't know why. You will feel an inner certainty that cannot be shaken. Even when your bank account still shows the old figures, ideas will flash into your mind. Business ideas, investment ideas, creative ideas that could generate income. Opportunities will knock, people will offer you deals, partnerships, chances you never had before. You will feel an inner magnetism that draws wealth-related situations to you. And even if you do not yet see the dollars, you will know they are near. You will feel them forming like clouds gathering before the rain. Do not dismiss these signs. They are not coincidences. They are evidence that your assumption is taking root in the deeper mind. I will give you now the daily ritual that accelerates manifestation. Water your assumption with faith. Do not dig it up with doubt by constantly checking for evidence. Trust the process completely. If you should falter, if fear arises, if doubt creeps in, return at once to the state. Close your eyes and enter again. See the money. Feel the joy. Hear the congratulations. Feel the weight of success. Do this as often as needed, for repetition impresses the subconscious mind, and once the subconscious accepts something as true, the outer world must follow. You are not trying to force reality, you are allowing it to become what you have already accepted within. There is no strain in this, no effort, no struggle. There is only assumption and faith. The next story of a woman will give you chills. Another woman told me she followed this process, and within 3 weeks began receiving checks in the mail. Not paychecks, unexpected checks. A tax refund she'd forgotten about. A class action settlement she didn't know she was part of. A rebate from a purchase made years ago. Each check was small by itself, but together they totaled over $3,000. She was not surprised. She had been living in the assumption of money flowing to her from expected and unexpected sources. The universe simply used these forgotten channels to deliver what she had claimed. But this was just the beginning. By week 4, a relative she barely knew left her $50,000 in their will. By month 2, she was offered a job paying 3 times her previous salary. By month 3, her small side business had exploded with new customers. I tell you the secret that wealthy families have used for generations. Old money families understand this principle instinctively. They raise their children with the assumption of wealth, not the hope of it. Their children grow up never doubting they will be wealthy because they are surrounded by the assumption of wealth from birth. This is why wealth tends to stay in families, not just because of inherited money, but because of inherited assumptions. The consciousness of wealth gets passed down more powerfully than the money itself, but you can create this consciousness in yourself right now, today, this moment. You do not need to be born into it. You can assume it, embody it, become it through the power of your own imagination. The key is feeling without forcing. When you feel that you already are a millionaire, not that you're trying to become one, the struggle ends and the flow begins. Imagination without feeling is sterile, but with feeling it is the creative power of God Himself. So do not imagine mechanically. Do not repeat empty affirmations. Feel your way into the seed. Dwell in it. Savor it. Let it saturate your being. Let it be more real to you than your current bank balance. For the truth is, your current balance is only real because you have continued to give it your attention and belief. Shift your attention to your desired balance, and you shift your world. When you begin to live from the end, the outer world becomes irrelevant to your sense of identity. You will no longer look to circumstances to tell you who you are. You will look within, and what you feel yourself to be within, the world will soon reflect without. You will notice synchronicities that are not coincidences at all. A chance meeting with someone who has the exact opportunity you need. An old contact calling with a business proposal. A new idea lighting up your mind like a lightning bolt of inspiration. But these are not the source of your wealth. They are the effect of your assumption. The source is your consciousness. You are not at the mercy of economics, governments, or fate. You are at the mercy of your own imagination. But once you realize this, you are no longer at mercy. You are in control. This is the great secret, hidden in plain sight. The world will tell you that you must work harder, network more, struggle and compete and fight for every dollar. But I tell you, all of that is vanity if it is not rooted in the right assumption. You may gain the world through struggle and lose your soul in the process. But if you gain your imagination, if you learn to assume what you desire and persist in that assumption, the world is yours without struggle. This is the great secret, hidden in plain sight. The meek shall inherit the earth, not because they are weak, but because they do not resist. They assume and allow. They imagine and receive. If you're starting with nothing, this is perfect. So if today you sit in a small room without wealth, without proof, without evidence that any of this is possible, do not despair. That is the perfect place to begin. In fact, it is better than having some wealth, for the world cannot distract you with partial success. Close your eyes and go within. Begin to feel the room change around you. See yourself in a place of elegance and beauty. Hear the sounds of luxury, the quiet hum of expensive appliances, the whisper of silk curtains, the gentle bubbling of a fountain in your garden. Smell the scent of wealth, fresh flowers that are replaced daily, expensive leather, the clean air of your country estate. Let the imagined experience become more real than the one before your eyes. This is how you know you're doing it right. As you do this consistently, your inner state will change. And when the inner state changes, the outer must follow by law. You may begin to walk differently, with more confidence, more purpose. You may speak with more certainty, more authority. You may find yourself smiling for no apparent reason, feeling secretly amused by the gap between what others see and what you know. This is not delusion. This is creation. You are becoming the one who has. You are shedding the skin of the one who hoped and becoming the one who knows. The world may not understand, but it does not need to. It only needs to respond, and it always responds to the one who feels himself already in possession of the goal. In the quiet moments of each day, remind yourself, it is done. Not it will be done, but it is done. The million is yours now. You are already living from it. You are already receiving from it. You are already enjoying it. Let that be your new inner conversation. Let it repeat like a sacred song in your soul. You will be tempted to look around and measure your progress, but resist. Faith does not consult appearances. Faith remains steady, and when faith is steady, reality bends. The world is not happening to you. You are happening to the world. As you imagine, as you assume, as you persist, the world reforms itself. It may seem slow at first, but that is only because old assumptions still linger in the deeper mind. This is not magic. This is law. Be patient. Be bold. Be consistent. This is not magic, though it may appear so to the uninitiated. This is law, divine law, immutable, precise, and utterly obedient to your assumptions. The riches you desire are not somewhere out there, hidden in a vault, waiting for a stroke of luck. They are here now, in this moment, waiting for you to rise to their frequency. That frequency is belief. That frequency is assumption. That frequency is the feeling of already being wealthy. Ask yourself not, what do I want, but who must I be to already have it? And then become that person. Speak as them, think as them, walk as them, live as them. If you find doubt creeping in, do not wrestle with it. Do not try to convince it, or argue with it, or push it away. Simply return to the state. Let the scene of the fulfilled desire play again. Let the feeling of the fulfilled state return. You do not destroy doubt by fighting it. You dissolve it by starving it of attention. You starve it by feasting on the assumption of the wish fulfilled. Every moment spent in the state of wealth is a moment doubt cannot exist. All power is in the present assumption, not tomorrow's hope, not next week's plan, but this moment's decision about who you are. This is your power. This is your moment. Real transformation happens when you master this. In this very moment, you may assume that you are the millionaire you desire to be. And if you will remain faithful to that assumption, if you will live from it rather than toward it, if you will persist despite all contrary evidence, the world must show it to you. It must, for imagination creates reality, and imagination is always now. So will you dare to imagine the life you desire and live from it without apology, without doubt, without delay? Will you persist when the senses say otherwise? Will you continue when the world offers no confirmation? For if you will, then the world must eventually conform to your inner conviction. Do not underestimate the power of the silence in which this work is done. You may not speak it aloud, you may tell no one, yet in the secret place of consciousness, you are reshaping the very nature of your experience. Each assumption carries with it its own pattern of life, its own quality of events, its own tone and texture. When you assume you are wealthy, the world around you begins to organize itself in alignment with that wealth. It draws to you the people who match that vibration. It reveals to you paths that were hidden from the eyes of the man who believed in poverty. But to the man who assumes wealth, every road leads to riches. Now is the time to discipline your inner speech with the dedication of a master. You cannot speak lack and live abundance. You cannot grumble about bills and expect financial freedom. You cannot complain about your circumstances and attract better ones. The law is not mocked. It gives you what you continually affirm within, whether that affirmation is positive or negative, conscious or unconscious, deliberate or accidental. So train your inner conversation to reflect your desired outcome. Speak within as though you are already rich. I always have more than enough. Money flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. Everything I touch prospers and multiplies. Your inner conversation changes everything. Say these things not like a parrot, repeating sounds, but with conviction, with feeling, until they move you, until they stir something deep within you, until they feel like the only truth you know. You do not manifest what you occasionally feel or sometimes think. You manifest what you consistently assume, what you habitually believe, what you naturally expect. So keep assuming, keep returning to the feeling. When you feel tempted to check the bank balance or count the days or measure the progress, remember that all of that belongs to the old man, the man of doubt, fear, and limitation. The new man walks by faith, not by sight. The new man smiles knowing it is already done, regardless of what the senses report. This is not denial of the senses. This is the recreation of the senses. For the senses only report what you have told them to report through past beliefs and assumptions. If you change the root assumption, the fruit must change. The outer is never cause. It is always effect. Begin to delight in your imagination. Make it a playground, not a chore. Let it be your retreat, your sanctuary, your sacred space. Feel the thrill of it. Let it surprise you with its richness and detail. I give you the technique that makes it feel real. Walk into imagined rooms, dripping with opulence. Feel the marble beneath your feet, the silk beneath your fingers. Hear the compliments of those who admire your success. Receive the gratitude of those you blessed with your generosity. Let the scenes flow not with strain, but with pleasure. This is how you loosen the grip of the old world. You do not fight it, you outgrow it. You do not struggle against it, you move beyond it through joyful assumption. Do not concern yourself with the opinions of others. They live in their own dream, and they are free to assume what they will. But their assumptions cannot affect your world unless you accept them as true for you. You must become ruthless with the mind when it offers thoughts of fear or limitation. You must say, "That is not my truth," and return immediately to the truth you have chosen. I am wealthy, I am free, I am abundant now. You must say it and feel it until it becomes automatic, until it becomes your nature, until it becomes so natural that you forget you're assuming it. Watch the quiet transformation that unfolds when you do this consistently. You will begin to attract conversations about opportunity. You will begin to notice doors opening that were once locked. You may even receive sudden gifts, unexpected refunds, surprise bonuses. These are not coincidences. They're reflections. Do not call them coincidences. They are reflections of your inner shift. The world must mirror the image you have painted within. It cannot resist, for it has no choice but to echo the reality you have assumed. Each day, do not ask, "Where is it?" Instead, say, "It is here now," and then act as though it is, even in the small things. How you dress, how you carry yourself, how you give, how you receive. You may not be able to do what a millionaire does in the outer world yet, but you can feel what he feels. You can imagine what he imagines. You can think as he thinks. And that inner alignment is the seed that brings the outer fruit. This truth about money will set you free. Let your mind dwell on this truth. All things already exist. The $1 million you desire already exists. It is not being created. It is already finished in the realm of the unseen. You are simply aligning with it, tuning into its frequency. And that alignment is not about hard work or moral worth or deserving. It is about state, the state of consciousness from which you operate. When you enter the state of the man who has, all things necessary to that state will find their way to you. So do not focus on the details of how it will happen. Focus only on being the one who already has it. Let yourself become the version of you who never worries about money, because money is never a concern. In 1 month, if you will live in the end, assume the reality of wealth and remain faithful. The millions will come, whether through a sudden opportunity, a gift, a forgotten investment, a new business, or a miracle beyond reason. It does not matter. The method is not your concern. The assumption is your power. Hold to it. Refuse to waver, no matter what the world says. You know the truth. Imagination creates reality. So I ask you now, will you dare to believe? Will you cast off the old man, the man of doubt, fear, and lack, and put on the new man, the man of riches, peace, and power? Will you persist, even when the world laughs, even when the senses say no? If so, then in 1 month's time, your outer life will mirror your inner conviction. The final truth is this: you are not waiting on money. Money is waiting on you. It is waiting on your consciousness to match its frequency. It is waiting on your self-concept to rise. It is waiting on your assumption to be stable. So become now the person who has it. Think as they think, feel as they feel, live as they live. Do it boldly. Do it faithfully. Do it joyfully. The law is no respecter of persons. It responds not to virtue but to vision, not to effort but to assumption. Let the world toil and strive while you enter your inner chamber and commune with the infinite. Imagine boldly, assume lavishly, and persist until the unseen becomes seen. For it must. It must. You are already that which you seek. You simply have not accepted it yet. Accept it now. Accept that you are rich. Accept that you are powerful. Accept that you are the operant power. And then walk in that assumption. For to him who has, more shall be given. And to him who dares, the world bows low. Let this month be your demonstration. Let this month be your proof. Every morning, every night, return to the state. Live in the end. Revise the day. Saturate your mind with images of wealth, sounds of joy, feelings of luxury, and then release it. Walk in peace. Act as though it were already so. And soon it will be. You will be a millionaire in 1 month. Not because of luck, not because of hard work, but because you dared to believe, you dared to imagine and persist. You dared to live in the end. And because of that, the world, this seemingly solid world, will melt and reshape itself to match your inner world. It always does. It always has. Now it's your turn to see it. The power is within you. The world will follow your lead. Go forward in this knowledge, knowing that you are not waiting for wealth to come to you. You are already living in it. Remember, the moment you truly believe, the world will make way for your reality to manifest.